Looks like the corn crop's going in this morning.
It is. I'll tell you what I'm doing. See the different colors in here? Can you see that?
Yeah.
The different colors of corn.
Looks like I see blue, I see red, I see something else.
White.
Uh-huh.
So the red is Bloody Butcher corn. I grew
Right.
that last year. I saved the seed.
All right.
And the white is Hickory King, but I've crossed it for 2 years with the blue corn. And then also last year I grew an orange corn that kind of mixed with it, so I've got some yellow kernels in there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get all of these to cross and see what I get this year.
Yeah, you must have learned that in the university.
I must have. University of YouTube.
Dear Father in heaven, please have mercy and help me this morning and educate me. I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, friends, it's right and proper when you pray to ask God to educate you, because John 6:45, they shall be taught of God. God is our teacher. He'll educate us, give us lessons that will profit and benefit us, not in just this life, but in the life to come. We're going to learn some things on earth, learn some things in heaven. Our education here prepares for our education there. Now, I was going to a private school in Rome, Georgia. I was working my way through. I worked in the English grammar lab. What I would do is help students, write their research papers. And I would try to explain the subjunctive mood and conjunctive adverbs and, different parts of grammar, participles. But, that was more than 40 years ago. A lot of what I learned I haven't used. But, friends, there are some essential lessons that I have gotten that I use all the time. And these are things I did not learn while I was in school. I was there for 4 years, serving as like the pastor to the inmates. And after I was there for a few months, I had one of the inmates, he wanted to speak to me privately. So we had a nice conversation. And I asked him, I said, do you get to get outside a little bit? Do you get some fresh air and sunshine? He said, no, hardly ever. Get to go out on the basketball court, one day out of the week or something. I thought, that's tough. Then he asked me a question. He said, look, there's a window, because he was kind of short. There was a window in my cell, tall, long, narrow window. He said at night, before I go to bed, I jump up there, I grab it with my fingertips, and I lift myself up. He said the bottom left corner of the window, I see this bright star every night. And he asked me, did God put that there for me? I told him, in Job 9 verse 7, God seals up the stars. I said, certainly he put that star there for you. And he knew all about you here in the Dade County Jail. Another lesson I learned, I was working with a guest in a lifestyle center, and there was a lady going through the program. I became acquainted with her, and her husband would come visit, and I became acquainted with him. Really nice folks. She finished the program, she left, and then her husband called me 6 months later, said he wanted to come over and talk with me. And we made an appointment. He came over, and he and his wife, we sat in a kitchen across a bar. When he asked me, he said, look, I caught my wife red-handed in adultery. I want to know if I have biblical grounds for divorce. I said, well, Matthew 19, adultery is certainly grounds for divorce, and you have every biblical right to divorce her, but that may not be the best. And when I said that, he looked kind of confused and surprised. I said, you got children involved, there are different aspects you need to examine. It's biblically legal to divorce your wife for adultery, but it may not be the best. And he asked me a couple of questions. He said, look, how can I trust her after what she has done to me? Now, she's sitting right there listening to the conversation. How can I trust her after what she's done for me? And the answer is pretty simple. I said, well, the way God trusts you after what you've done to him. He said, how could I forgive her after what she's done to me? I said, the same way God forgives you after what you've done to him. Now, Ephesians 1:7, we have forgiveness of sin by the grace of God. Grace can come in and mend the hearts and join them together in a closer union than before. My dear friends, I did not learn that in school. You know, another difficult lesson was the one about pain, regarding pain. You know, when you think about pain, you think about, well, you know, I had hernia surgery. I think it was 2018. When hernia surgery was over and I got home, I had a lot of physical pain. I had the surgery last night, and then I woke up this morning trying to get out of the sofa. It was tough. But you know, this too shall pass. You know, I learned there are more kinds of pain than just the physical pain. When Darlene and I were in our mid-30s, she got pregnant, she lost a child. I helped with the delivery, but through the whole experience, it was quite painful. I remember when the doctor told Darlene that the child had anencephalia. It's a birth defect, can't form a skull, a terminal condition. And then the child was later born. The experience was so painful that as I went through it and then later would think back on it, I had physical pain. And I learned that emotional pain can actually result in physical suffering. And I didn't learn that in school. Heartbreak can cause physical pain. Psalm 34:18, God is near to them that are of a broken heart. You know, God comes in, you know, that whole experience with our child dying. It reminded me of Job 1:21. Naked I came out of my mother's womb, naked I shall return thither. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. And so even in the moments of great emotional pain or spiritual pain or mental pain, God is there to give grace and healing and to give upholding support. And I didn't learn that in school. I arrived in the Los Angeles airport. I was going to be stuck there overnight, going to sleep on the floor in the LAX airport. And one of our former lifestyle guests and his mother contacted me. They called Darlene. Darlene told them I was in LA. They lived in Los Angeles. And they said, we'd like to pick you up, take you to lunch, and visit with you a while. And I thought that'd be great. You know, I'd love to see you. So they picked me up. I'd been on the flight, had jet lag, hadn't eaten in a couple of days. I don't like the plane food. You know, gotten off the plane, made arrangements to meet Cleo and her son, Ricky. And then they took me out to a place, I think it was called the Soup Kitchen, just a wonderful all-you-could-eat smorgasbord type place, and I overate, sorry to say. And we had a nice conversation and visiting and good food. And it came time to go back to the airport. They were driving me to the airport, and I noticed when Cleo hit the junction there, right, it said right LAX airport, she went left. And I thought, well, she lives here, she knows where she's going. And she ended up taking me to an Econo Lodge hotel. They pulled off the highway into the hotel. She gave me this little card that would be the key to the room. She handed it to me. She said, king-size bed, airport shuttle, 24-hour airport shuttle. Enjoy your sleep. I couldn't believe it. I went in, checked into my room, was laying there on the bed, and I had a little jet lag. I couldn't sleep. And I was just thinking, you know, the bed is so nice. And this is much superior to sleeping on the tile floor in the LAX airport. Quiet, peaceful, 24-hour shuttle, good food I just had in the Soup Kitchen restaurant. And I thought, yeah, this is a wonderful gift. But that wasn't what really made me appreciate the gift. It was the heart of the giver, that she would have a willingness and a desire to give me a hotel room. And I realized, you know, it's not the gift, it's the heart of the giver. I mean, that's the value in the equation of giving and receiving. The Philippines is rich in hospitality and kindness, but poor in this world's goods. And most of the time that I spent in the Philippines, I was working with people that were in abject poverty. But we were in Manila, taking a walk with the students. One of the folks with us, her name was Glen Rose. And as we walked with the students, we walked into a neighborhood. I think it was in the region they call Makati. It was a more well-to-do place. It's like the Manhattan of Manila. And we were in this neighborhood, big, nice houses. And I looked at one of those big, nice houses and I said, wow, that sure is a nice home. Glen Rose looked at me, she said, brother, that's not a home, that's a house. And I never really thought about the distinction between the two. You know, a house that is destitute of love is a cold place to live. You can be in Billionaires Row, I think they call it now, Billionaires Row in New York, Fifth Avenue somewhere. And if you don't have love in the house, it's just a house. But if you bring home in and you live in an impoverished neighborhood, someplace that you call a slum, but the house is full of love, then dear friends, that house has become a home. Jesus loved the fellowship in Bethany at the house of Lazarus. They were poor folks, but he found something there that he couldn't find with the Pharisees. And as he gives us the invitation in Proverbs 23:26, my son, give me your heart. What makes a house a home is the hearts of those that are dwelling there. As I was weeding the blackberries this morning, I came across this little marvelous work of engineering. You can see how delicate it is. If you don't look closely, you'd miss it. Another one of those great blessings you find in the garden that you can't find in the classroom.